Yeah,
Now,
he is.
let's talk a little bit about your the gear you've been making. Like I've seen it all over social media. I see all these different trainers, buying up your focus mitts and your shin guards and all this. You want to kind of talk about like how did this become a thing and where exactly is it headed?
Well, I started. It's funny because I was looking at a picture just a couple weeks ago, and there's a picture of me and Bernal Phillips back in 2002. He was a former, four-time world champion in boxing, and I had the opportunity to work with him for 17 fights. And I was looking at a picture, and there's some Reyes mitts that I have on, and the shoestrings are the shoestrings from my Timberland boots. And I was like, oh, I remember that was the first pair of mitts that I cut open, and I refoamed them just because the hard foam was starting to shock my arms so bad. Hard foam is very good because it keeps you from giving the bone-to-bone feel, but you still get that dense shock. Right. And so I did a softer foam. I started layering the foam. So I started messing with foams way back then. And about 4 years ago, I ended up borrowing my mom's sewing machine and saying, hey, I'm going to try to make a pattern and see if I can do something different, just because of the issues that I was having as a coach, that my body was breaking down. It was hard for me to hold mitts, especially when you got guys like Shane Coleman hitting you, and that makes you reassess everything you're putting on.
Oh, yeah.
And so I started kind of sewing some patterns, trying my own patterns, making right and left mitts where, mitts don't have a right or left. So I kind of just started using all the pains that I had in the game, and with these fighters like Shane and Dwayne Ludwig, who are retiring because of injuries, it really made me look at what's in the game right now for equipment. If you go to like a Dick's Sports, or you look at like the football gear. I remember back in high school, I'd look at football gear, and it's like the pants would sag off you. It looked like high school gear. Now the stuff, even in high school, it looked like NFL gear. It's the highest level of stuff. I mean, the foam that they use, and the technology is there, and people are trying new technologies and testing it. It's evolving. And when I look at combat sport equipment, I feel like it's just branding. Everybody's branding these cool looks and cool colors, and everybody's missing the point. Why are these injuries happening? And you hear Dana all the time talking about people are going too hard in sparring, but if you're not training the way you want to fight, you're not going to fight the way you want to train. You have to be able to do what you're doing to be able to perform. And I can understand hard training and hard shots for an older guy. I would say more tech sparring, but again, you have to be able to go out there and perform. And when you have stuff that, most is by ounces, so you have 16-ounce gloves, 14-ounce gloves, 12-ounce gloves, etc. There's not many sizes. Shane was wearing winning gloves and hurt his hand because they're too small in his hands. He's got the big hand. There's lots of issues in this sport. So I just started making stuff and seeing what I could do with it. And I'm an artist at heart. And, man, I started, asking people if they want to buy some of the stuff that they seen that I was wearing. And once people started trying it, man, I was getting such a great response. And, again, my motto is to help fighters perform at their best. I mean, it's in nature for me to do that, and I'm a fan first. So if I can help millions of fighters perform better and be able to go out there and face their fears and not face excuses and, hey, my hand hurt, that's what happened, and hesitate in fights because of injuries. For the amount of injuries that I've faced with fighters going in there, and I had to mentally help them think that they don't have an injury, they're still going to be able to come out with the win. I mean, it's, to me, a huge white space in this business. And, I've been doing custom stuff for a long period of time, and my stuff is valued high. So there's a high price dollar on it, but the quality's there. And I'm 6 months out on custom orders. So I've got 3 patents right now.
Oh, wow.
That will be coming out. We're in the manufacturing process right now. And it's called onyxsports.com if you want to go check it out. But, to me, it's new technologies that I'm bringing to the game, and it's not branding. It's not anything outside of being able to help athletes perform at their best. And, man, I'm passionate about that. I love what I do, and look forward to seeing what I can do for the game.
Awesome. That's incredible, man. I love seeing people pursue their passions. And like you said, you're an artist, and that's what art is all about, is making something and presenting it and saying, here, I made this. And and if you can change the game while doing that, then that's an even bigger bonus. Now, have you thought about maybe taking this technology to like Everlast or some of the larger brands out there and maybe trying to push it on them?
Completely. For me, it's about getting it out as far as I can go. So anybody wants to license the patents that I have coming out, I mean, that's what I wanted. It's just, and also just when they come out, for me, it's exposing a new way to look at things. You know, again, everybody's just taking gloves and they'll say, hey, they'll send it out to Thailand or Pakistan or wherever they're making it. Say, hey, man, can you make this same glove with it, but put my logo here? So it's about the look. And my thing, for me, I want to challenge people to think differently. What can we do to help these guys that go out there and put on these great fights for us and entertain for us? I mean, you see how many people are pulling out of fights at the moment. You know, main eventers that are pulling out of fights, and it's a pain in the ass for Dana White to promote shows and all these other big promotions to promote shows, and you have the athletes having to pull out. And that's a hard thing. If you have an athlete pulling out of a fight, he's injured. I mean, these are guys that they don't get paid to sit on the bench. They only get paid to go out there and fight. So the training you don't get paid for, and that's where, to me, most injuries are happening. And that's the sad thing. I mean, a fighter has a manager looking for all these sponsorships for him, and the manager did his job, so he's expecting his fee. And promoters promoted the fight, so he's expecting his fee. It's very hard for a fighter to go out there and say, "Oh man, I need to pull out of this fight." They end up just biting a bullet and going out there and fighting not at 100%. So again, I think every company that's out there right now should think differently. Think about the athlete. Without a fighter, there's no equipment. Without a fighter, there's no manager. Without a fighter, there's no promoter. Without a fighter, there's no fight. So who is the one that's the most important in the game, and focus on that. And I think this will really help kind of spark people to kind of look differently at the sport and what we can do to help these guys, create great fights and continue great fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even want to count all the times a main event has been thwarted because someone got injured. How many times has Khabib been injured? You know what I mean? Like, how many times has Cain Velasquez been injured? And it's just, it sucks, but it's definitely part of the sport. But if there's a way in which, new safety standards can be implemented, then, maybe we'll see less injuries occur during these fight camps. And maybe we'll see these fighters have longer careers.
The one thing that stands out to me is, I mean, there's just how the sport is. It's such a fast-growing sport, which is a great thing. I'm always trying to look at the positive things, but when I start, digging deeper into this, the negative parts start exposing themselves. I mean, there's 500 and something MMA gyms in Colorado. There's people who are owning gyms who are fighters, and they were 0-5 as a professional fighter, and never even had an amateur background. And they're opening gyms and teaching people and letting them fight after a month of training. I mean, there's so many things that are going on, but the things that stand out the most to me, that bother me so bad, is when I'm cutting gloves open and I'm looking at these things, and then I did something which was so crazy to me is I put gloves on scales. So I started grabbing all these gloves and I started putting them on scales, and I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 gloves don't weigh what they say they weigh.
Really?
And it's not like they're 15.6 ounces and mark it up to 16. Cool, that's awesome. They're off by 2 or 3 ounces. Some are over by 4 ounces. Some are below. Some are 10s and 11-ounce gloves that say 16. And who is even checking them? I mean, you get your gloves and you say, hey, man, they don't weigh this. I mean, they're just putting a label on it to say it. That's the biggest no-no in boxing. If you get a glove and you see someone hitting their sparring glove on a bag because you're breaking the bones down, I mean, boxing is, you can never do that. I mean, common boxers will look at you and say, man, well, you hit the bag with your sparring gloves. Those are sparring gloves, not bag gloves,
Right.
But those little things that I can't believe how many major companies out there don't have the correct ounces on their gloves just wows me. And
who are some of these brands that you're talking about?
Yeah, what I would say, grab some gloves and put them on the scale. Because the last thing I'm going to do is call out these companies. I'm going to expose them just by doing the right thing. Check them out. Grab some gloves and put them on the scale. I've found some great bloggers. If you can look it up on YouTube to find out people, doing, checking out gloves, talking about the quality. What do they think about them? And you'll see them talking about the ounces on there. Check them out. Grab some real basic, names, and for me, I don't want to badger people in that position because, you know, like there's big companies who I've worked with before and have relationships with, and I think it's more of not looking at the product, and you're making so many different varieties of gloves that things slip through. Right. It's the manufacturers who are putting these things together, and, you know, check your gloves, look at them. It's crazy to me. Crazy. Grab some gloves, put them on the scale, and see what happens.
I mean, it's downright dangerous.
You'd be amazed.
It's dangerous.
It's 100% dangerous. And more it's about the weight. I mean, the weight. If you're carrying more weight, again, you know, if you're a heavier guy, I believe you're in the heavyweight division, you should probably be wearing 18s or 20s. It's about, you know, how explosive can you be and how fast can you push a weight. You know, if you have a 1 pound weight, how fast can you throw a punch? Speed's going to produce that leverage. So, you know, it's about, you know, and how long can you throw them, you know, explosive. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, like Reyes is a company who puts and Grant put a lot of weight on the back of the hands, you know, and a little bit more of a knuckle feel, you know, so it's a little bit more realistic. And just the weight that you're carrying is what keeps the damage from happening, and also the width of the glove. So it's not that pounds per square inch that's landing a small glove, you know. So again, the weight has tons to do with stopping leverage. You know, if it's light, you can rip the glove even with fast motion and be explosive with it, and continue to be explosive with it.
Interesting.
But it wows me.
It sounds like there's really like a lot of minutia going on in training camps that is just, you know, it's really wide open, and there's really no standard of practices.
There's no standard.
And
it all starts from, think about it. I mean, how serious do we take commissions? I mean, another thing, you know, that I'm on a mission to kind of help out. I mean, I go to different commissions, and they have different rules for taping hands and wrapping hands, and, you know, different rules. There's always different rules. There's no national commission, so how are we going to have national rules? You know, a lot of them will abide by certain rules, but who's making the rules? And I've seen rules get adjusted all the time. Again, another pet peeve. So it's about the safety of an athlete. Why are we making these rules? Is it about the athlete? Is it about being powerful? And just saying, no, we have that rule for no reasoning behind it. What is the reasoning behind it? I mean, if it's good reasoning and it's about safety, cool. But, you know, what are these rules being made for? And exactly, sparring in gyms, they're talking about the people who are opening gyms that don't understand what they're doing, and saying, oh man, you know, get tough, and, you know, you don't know how to defend yourself, but you're being put in there to spar right away. You know, it bothers me. Who's teaching you? Who's allowing you to compete? You know, commissioners are out there to make sure that matches are corrected. You know, when mismatches are happening, that's when people get hurt. So again, what is the key? What is the reasoning behind this? Again, it goes back to safety. This is a safe sport, and when it's done correctly, injuries can be prevented. I mean, it's contact sport. You're going to have injuries. That's going to happen. But when you have, you know, concussions continually happening in gyms and things like that, I mean, that's you have to look at who's running the show.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of prepping yourself for a position on an athletic commissions board. Is that something?
No, I think I wouldn't do that. Like for me, it's more about education. Like, who can be involved? I mean, I don't think I would want to run the board. I don't think that's something I'm passionate about. I think there's people who can be passionate about it, but I would love to have discussions and continue to meet and talk education and get other coaches who understand it and people who are at a high level to say, man, let's hear the reasoning behind things. Why does Dana talk about AKA being such a rough and tough gym and people hurting themselves when they're very heavyweight dominant and bigger guys, you know? So, you know, assess what's going on in situations instead of just calling people out. And nothing against Dana. He's pissed off that people are pulling out of fights, totally understandable. But also saying that these guys need to learn how to train, that it's a science. And I mean, if he's talking about the Rocky movie where the one guy's running on these nice machines and has all these heart rate monitors, cool, you know, good thought. But again, you're fighting. So, you know, do you have the correct? There's so many times that you see just stupid injuries that shouldn't happen because of, you know, equipment fails or someone not having a knee pad on and they throw a kick and someone shoots into a knee and it ends up having to get stitched up. It's the little things that are allowed and aren't assessed. I mean, you know, what's going on. So I think it's a lot more than just equipment. It's an education. So how can we educate the commission to be better and understand why rules are happening? And I understand that's their job, and I'm not going to, say that they're not doing things. But again, can we open these discussions up more? Can we get people who are at high levels involved with these types of things? And why can rules be differently in different states? And what is the reason why not have a consistent? What is the issues with the National Commission?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with education will come regulation, because at this point, it's almost impossible to regulate it as is, with it being so fragmented. And especially when it comes to training in a gym. I mean, how can you really regulate, like in the workforce and the labor force in like the construction world or whatever?
Completely.
You have companies like OSHA who kind of oversee, and they'll show up randomly just to make sure everything's up to code. I mean, does something like that need to take place? Or, I mean, how can it be regulated?
Completely. Again, anybody can open a gym. It used to be my pet peeve in boxing is the managers that I would see. I'd have chiropractors coming in and say they're going to manage an athlete. I'm looking at them like, what do you care? I had to kick a guy out of the corner one time in a fight with JC Candello against Kasi Muma. World title fight, IBF title fight at Foxwoods, and the guy, was worried about losing money in the corner. He's like, he spent too much money in months before that. He was pretty much crying in the corner saying, I can't afford to lose no more money. And I ended up getting distracted, kicking him out of the corner. And to me, it's funny that anybody can come in and say, hey, I'm a manager, When again, it's what is it about? What job can you go in without investment and make instant return? It's crazy to me. So again, this my dad called it when I was getting into it, and I was a nice guy with a smile, always, trying to do the right thing. And he's like, man, this sport is going to wear you down. It's going to, you ain't going to last. I had one of the tough dads that'll he'll kind of, that tough love type of thing. And he told me, you'll never make it in the sport because you're too nice of a guy. That's the mafia of all sports. And that's when, I was in the boxing game. And, for me, I think it's you got to think differently and really, again, it's what's right. To me, the sport is growing. It's a great thing. It's on top of the world. But mishaps and people getting very injured or dying in the ring and having situations like that is unacceptable. And things will happen. But again, we can make it safer, and we have rules there's reasoning behind rules, and it's definitely a mission I'm on to again educate. Be educated from other people who have different perspectives, because there's two sides to every subject. So again, it's again about the athlete, and that's something I'm super, super passionate about is being able to see these guys go out there and perform, put on great fights, and continue to fight on.
Well, your father may have said you would never make it in boxing, but I feel like you might end up changing combat sports altogether. So I got to say, I definitely appreciate what you do for the sport, what you do for the fighters. I definitely appreciate the positivity you bring along with it, and your desire to just further the sport along and make it as safe as possible, because that's really how we're going to see the best fights. I mean, healthy guys going in 100% is ideal, and that rarely happens.
Completely.
So definitely, I appreciate you taking out the time to speak with me. Yeah, man, I would love to catch up with you again and kind of follow you along this journey and see where the equipment goes and see how far the education goes with you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it, man. It's fun to talk about. I can talk all night about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As you can see.
Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you for your time, and good luck to you on your upcoming bouts. And, yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it, everyone. The one and only nicest guy in the world, phenomenal trainer, coach, the Trevor Wittman. Check him out, Grudge Training Center. He's got a couple fighters coming out. Check out Rose Namajunas. She's about to fight Carolina Kovalevich at UFC 201. Yeah, also check out his equipment, which is I mean, phenomenal focus mitts, tie pads, shin guards. I mean, the whole nine. You can find me on bloodyelbow.com. You can find me on Twitter at @TheEddieMercado. Peace.